Salute to you all. The brave never fall. This is a beautiful morning when I'm always outside as much as possible. And whenever I'm outside, I always have to take time to reflect. I talk about this a lot. It's important to reflect. And I think retreating into your mind, especially outdoors, I always found just breathing in that fresh air and controlling your breathing very early in the morning, as early as you can get it. Listen to the birds, whatever noises that are outside, you deal with them. The helicopters going by if you live in a city, planes going by, you have cars honking, you have traffic, depending on where you are. You may be in the country and you get to hear the silence of all that's around you. I think that's what's awesome about life, is that there's so many different ways to appreciate what's around you, being connected. And there's a word that just keeps popping in my mind, and it's nexus, and it's something that that word in general will be associated with the brave never fall, because nexus it's just a fancy word of saying we're all connected. And that's what the brave never fall is all about. It's about being connected. Those colors that we have, the white, the orange, the blue, and the black, they all have meaning, and they're balanced. And this is off topic here a little bit before we get into the main topic, but I even thought about adding a fifth color. And something as simple as that, I've thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And I'm like, no, it's about balance. And balance is, for me, my favorite number is 8. So I always think in twos. I think in even numbers. So as bad as I want to add a fifth color, like that's a big deal. And that's where we're getting at here, is that you can be in your mind way too much about stuff. And the answer's right in your face. I came up with those colors without thinking about them. They just came into my mind. The moment I tried to force a color, that's when things started to unravel for me, as far as the whole concept of what is the brave never fall. Is it based on things that just pop in my mind, or am I force feeding things into the concept? When you're building the foundation of anything, it's really important that you know you're not forcing anything, that your mind is accepting what's before you and you're taking it. Your mindset and how you get to understand it, I think, is a high priority that should be in anyone's lives, especially if you are a leader and you want to lead other people. Understanding how other people think, how they react to not only you and your methods, but observing these people and appreciating them over time to see how they react and how they respond to certain things. And you can get a kind of a glimpse into someone's life. But I've come to learn real easily. People have lived lives, whether you agree with their lives or not, whether you've done your homework on someone's life, whether you appreciate their life or you think it's a life that is not on the path that you would have walked if you were in their shoes. I would be hesitant to say that you should judge them on a scale based on your life, because everyone's scale of judgment should be different, and no one's scale should be as utilized as far as taking it for what it is than the person who is telling you what that scale is. So, because it tells you a lot. If you walk up to someone and you ask them, do you think you've had a hard life? And let's say they could tell you every single detail in a short amount of time. You're still going to think either they did, it was far worse than what they're saying, or it was not hardly a hard life at all, because you're judging this person. But in this person's mind, they know what they've been through. They've suppressed a lot of memories. They've embraced a lot of memories. Same with the failures and the disappointments and all the success that they may have had and occurred over their lifetime. Their mindset is, I've been through what I've been through. And you can judge me all you want, but I've been through what I've been through and I'm still here, regardless. I may have a lot to learn. We all do. I know I'll never stop learning. I'm always looking for people to connect with that have knowledge that can teach me more. That makes me a better person. That gets me one step closer to being the best version of myself. But by no means do I believe anybody should ever tell me that I haven't done my homework on myself. That's one thing that I think is a huge priority in everyone's life. You have to do the homework on yourself, because that's how you shield yourself and you have armor, what I always call the strands. Those strands that teach you how to be a man or a woman. A strong man or a woman, a wise, intelligent man or woman. When you're facing people who are going to come at you, when you're overcoming obstacles that are going to come up. When the big boulder comes out of the sky and hits you in the back of the head, when you're not expecting it, how do you react? Now, people will walk up to you and tell you, I would have reacted this way. I wouldn't have reacted that way. I think you did a good job at that. I think you sucked at that. I think you've got a lot of work to do. I think you don't have a lot of work. I mean, these people are going to tell you stuff, and you can walk up to several different people and they'll tell you all types of different things. And why is that? Because they're, in a way, whether they like it or not, they're judging you. They're judging you. There's a reason why when you go in a courtroom and there's a trial, yes, the judge has the final say, but that's too much power for one person just to make that decision on his own or her own. That's why you have a jury. Because it takes more than one person to define who you are if they don't know who you are. And it doesn't matter if this person known you for the majority of your life or they've met you for 10 seconds. Judging someone is judging someone. How do you counter that? You counter that by knowing who you are. And who you are is a person who has a definition of themselves that they're going to stick to in the present moment. It doesn't mean that's what's going to be in the future for you. That doesn't mean that you have to revert back to what you've done in the past because it's comfortable, or be frightened or afraid and have all this anxiety about what's going to happen in the future when you can't even predict that. What's important is that you're comfortable with the definition of who you are in the moment, for better or for worse. If you're weak in the moment, that's your definition of yourself. If you're strong, that's your definition. You have to block out all the noise that comes in from all these other people. The people that come to you without you asking for their opinion are the ones that sometimes can be the most frustrating. But sometimes those people are the ones that are going to help you the most. Because they don't know you. And they can reset your mind in a very short time period about who you actually are. They'll have you actually thinking about who you are. Unfortunately, that's the power a lot of people have in this life. You can walk up to anyone and say, who do you think you are? That's one of the weirdest questions I think I've ever heard in my entire life. And I've heard other people say this as well. What the hell does that mean? When someone walks up to you and says, who the hell do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Who are you supposed to be? As if they know who you are to begin with. I might have said this before on other podcasts, but it's just one of those questions that when somebody asks me that, who do you think you are? I'm not you. That's who I am. I'm me. It should be very simple. You're talking to a human being with a mind and a heart. I'm me. Who the hell are you? That is the end of the conversation. Most of the time, those people don't want to answer the same question they have just presented to you as a gift. Forward-thinking people can see through all that. Forward-thinking people know that the moment that you're living in doesn't define you in a long-term sense. Your consciousness defines you. Yes, all your memories define you. Your consciousness and your subconsciousness is always at work. We know that. But that's why we're aware of things. That's why we have the ability to know who we are in the moment, which is so important. Because if you don't know who you are right now in this moment, who are you? Right? That's what these people are saying. Who do you think you are in this moment is basically what they're saying. And at the same time, they're basically saying, what have you done to get to be where I think who you are in this moment? And where do you think this moment is going to take you? Who do you think you are? Knowing who you are is so important because you don't owe them an answer. You don't owe them anything. You can walk right past them. You've won that victory. That victory is one of the best things you can do to someone is not respond to something as silly as, who do you think you are? If you're out of line, even if other people say the same thing to you, you can hear that statement a lot. It's up to you. If you think you're out of line, and those people, in some weird way, if you want to say, yeah, you deserve to hear that from someone, own it. Again, you're living in the moment. Nobody says that you're right. It takes a bigger person with an intelligent mind to know that you're not right all of the time. In fact, you may not be right most of the time. And yes, there's a difference between someone calling you out on something and judging you on something. Huge difference. If you want to carry it one step further, take a ladder from your mind down to your heart. And understand that when you're dealing with the human body, it is a complex meat machine. It is very, very odd thing we are. I mean, we are very odd beings. And we're not that complicated. I like to say to people all the time that I'm a very simple person. I pride myself on being very simple because when you're simple, you have room to add things on. When you're a complicated individual and you have so much going on in your mind and your heart, it's very hard to add things on. All you can do is really strip things away, lose things, fumble on things, get confused, be disorganized, undisciplined. I like being simple. Simple is a blank canvas. Simple is a canvas that you can get out your pen, your pencils, your paint. You can sit down and you hit a corner. Then you can move down to the other corner. You have a nice, big, blank, simple canvas. You're not going too fast. You're not trying to fill the whole canvas up with a bunch of nonsense. It's like having tattoos on your body. You want to leave some space as you go through your life. You don't want to fill up your whole body in 1 year. You want to leave some space on your body for your later years when you experience stuff, if you think like that. I want my life to reflect that. I want my mind and my body to be simple. That's why I follow the Tao. The Tao teaches you that being simple is very rewarding and makes you feel fuller than you ever would if you were a complicated, complex person, purposely. Gaining knowledge does not mean I'm adding on complexity. It's actually making me more simple because I'm understanding more. I'm not reacting to things that I don't understand. The more you understand in this world, the more you understand the human mind and the heart and the soul and how the physical body works, the more you understand other people, the more understanding and less judgmental you'll be of other people. And that's not easy. I'll be the first one to tell you that I have always walked around judging people. Mainly because I always felt like they were judging me. And I was okay with that because it was at the time all I had. When I was being bullied, when I was afraid to talk to this girl, or I was afraid to try out this sport, try out a new instrument, those are all things that if I had known what I know now, if I could go back and talk to my former self, especially in my early 20s, I would tell myself, slow down. Slow down. Block out all of the distractions. That girl is not important. That sport is not important. That instrument is not important. Your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul, that's what's important. Focus on that. Because once you get that fixed, all of the other things will fall into place and you won't have to try to do it. They just fall into place. If I could say anything to my former self, that would be my advice, and I'd walk away. I wouldn't tell him how to make money. I wouldn't tell myself how to better talk to women. I wouldn't say, hey, you're playing the wrong instrument. You're playing the wrong sport. You're not a basketball player. You're a marathon runner. I wouldn't tell myself any of that because I figured all that out on my own. The hard thing for me to figure out back then was focus on my mind, gain knowledge, push myself every single day. Don't lay around. Don't distract your mind with alcohol and drugs and women and running around partying all the time. Go to the library. Go for long runs. Meditate. Listen to your intuition. Those would be the things I tell myself. But everyone is different. Intuition. The mindset around it. They go hand in hand. When you have intuition and you're feeling it in your gut and things become true and you feel like you saw it a mile away, You have to trust that. But at the same time, intuition, again, everyone's different, but my intuition works a little different. Yes, I feel it in my heart, but I have to have everything be balanced. It's not enough for me just to say impulsively, I'm just going to do this thing. I also have to have a game plan, a mindset that backs that up. To know that if my intuition is right, how I'm going to deal with this and be assertive about it. Not just say I have a gut feeling about something, but actually go and do something about it. Be proactive. If I'm feeling like something's about to happen, I'm going to get on it. I'm not waiting for it to happen to me. What is the point of intuition if you're not going to prevent what's going to happen to you in the first place and you're just going to allowing it to happen? That's the opposite of creating your reality. Now, some people would say to you, you're creating a negative reality by trying to change something that hasn't happened yet. Again, what is the point of intuition? If you feel like something's coming and you trust yourself, your mind and your body, and you sense it coming, it happens anyway, and it's a negative thing and you didn't do anything about it. There's something you probably could have changed before that to even prevent that from happening in the first place. Otherwise, what's the point? That'd be like Spider-Man having his spider sense. Know that he's about to get hit in the head with a pipe, senses it, and does nothing about it. He just stands there and gets hit in the head with the pipe. That's what that means. I mean, if you feel it in your gut, do something about it. That's that warm feeling you have in your heart, and you get those butterflies in your stomach, and you're feeling like something's not right. Figure it out. Jump on the case. Be a detective. Figure it out. That's what I do. Now, sometimes you piss people off when you do that, because when you're leading yourself with all of your senses, again, your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul, when those are all working together, balanced, then you're so super confident in your self-love for yourself and your self-discipline, your worth and your value. You know yourself so well. You're not really worried about what other people have to say about what's best for you in that moment. Of course you're thinking about other people. That doesn't mean you turn into an asshole. That just means you're going to walk your path the best way you know how. And it doesn't matter what other people come up to you, tapping on your shoulder, turning you around and telling you you're doing something wrong. You're going the wrong way. Those are words. They mean absolutely nothing to somebody who has walked their own path. You don't know them. You know nothing about them. You have no idea what they've drugged themselves out of. Some of them may have not drugged themselves out of anything. Maybe you're spot on. That doesn't work with everyone. You can't assume every single person you see is a failure and needs your help. You can't assume every single person you see is the strongest person alive and they're walking around and they're alpha, but inside they're internally turning into a volcano. They're miserable. They're crying like babies before they go to sleep. I've seen this with my own eyeballs. I've seen enough people in this world, and I've talked to enough people. So one of the advantages I have had, once I came out of my little depression, I say little quote unquote, it was a very long, almost 20-year depression that I had. Once I came out of that, I took it upon myself to figure out people. I just threw myself out there and just said, hey, I'm going to start talking to every person out there. I'm going to learn. I'm going to talk to people that I would never have talked to. And I've got to learn and talk to some amazing, amazing people. From war veterans who fought their asses off in Vietnam, to people who worked on oil rigs, to people who invented radar. I've talked to people who are in poverty. I've talked to foreigners from Africa. I've talked to almost every single person on this planet from every country I've probably hit. I think I'm missing a few there, but I'm going to get to them. And that's the great thing about social media and the internet. You can talk to anybody on this planet about anything, anytime you want. There's no excuse not to know how a group of people feel, if you really want to know. And that's why I don't judge anyone. I've heard enough stories and seen enough stuff where everybody has their own story. And it's not fair to walk up to anyone and judge them about who they are. But again, that's only a problem if you're allowing that to be a problem. My mindset is this: know yourself. Shut out the noise and know yourself. When you know yourself, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. They can offer you help. They can come up to you and say, here, can I help you? Sure. You can help me. What do you need? Because a lot of times when people offer you help, they want something in return. It's not for free, especially if they have advice. The ones that you know care about you will be persistent about it. It won't be a one-time thing. The ones that are not judging you, they'll keep coming back at you, and they'll be consistent about it. Those are the ones you want in your life. Not the ones that come flying by like a tornado and throw some fortune cookie advice at you and keep running. That's not what you want. Or they come by like a tornado, judge you about something, and keep going. You want people, if they're going to judge you, at least be consistent about it. Because at least at that point, I'm like, well, maybe you're on to something. Maybe you're seeing something in me that I don't know. If they're doing it in a respectful way. Because judging somebody disrespectfully can be considered bullying and harassment. But we're not focusing on that. We're going to assume that most people who judge you kind of like you in some way, or they wouldn't be wasting their time judging you. Because we're being judged all the time by people. Even the people closest to us. We're being judged by our parents, our children. So let's not act like when we go outside and we talk to people that we're not being judged and we're not doing it ourselves. We are judging people. But there's a difference between judging someone in your mind and walking up and physically telling somebody right in their face verbally, hey, you're this, you're that. You're not this, you're not that. I think you should do this better. You should have done that better. You know, who do you think you are? There's a difference between having that in your head and your heart and saying, you know what, I'm going to afford them the respect not to say that to them to their face. But looks tell you everything. Sometimes you can tell with people's eyes. But that's my point. Who cares about their eyes? Who cares about them walking up and telling you that? You can tell me that as much as you want. I know who I am. You have to know your mind and utilize your heart. Because it's your life. If you're not going to do it, no one else is going to do it for you. You have to take pride in who you are. That starts with self-discipline and self-love. Again, those are things that are very, very difficult places to deal with. It's hard to get to a place where you're like, I'm really going to work on my self-discipline. Because there's no way to do it but be self-disciplined. You can't work on self-discipline without being self-disciplined. You have to just start. And it's hard. But does it harden the mind? Yes, it does. You can smile every day. Doesn't matter what people say to you. You know who you are. If they're right, you're going to take it and say, you know what? You're absolutely right. If they're wrong, you have every right to tell them that they're wrong. If you know in your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul that they're not on base with who you are, then you can tell them that. You have every right to do that. You have every right to defend who you are. If you don't need help from somebody, you don't have to take it. It's your life. You're going to be held accountable for your life by yourself in general. Regardless of what religion you believe in or what you think is going to happen after you leave this planet, right now, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable and hope that you're making the right decisions and listening to the right people. And the only way you can really do that, to know that you're listening to the right people and that you should respond to the right person, is knowing who you are. Because you don't know who these people are. These people who come up and judging you, you have no idea what they've been through. Some of these people have been through stuff. That's why dialogue and communication is so important. Because a person who knows how to communicate properly may come up to you and offer you constructive criticism, but they're also going to have a dialogue with you. They're going to offer you resources. They're going to let you know, hey, I don't mean anything by it. I'm just trying to help you. Take the help, but don't. That's different than somebody coming up and just saying something to you. And I went on all that, the judging part of it, with the mind and the heart, because I think that's what discourages people sometimes from pushing forward with their self-love and their self-discipline, because they're too focused on what other people have to say about them. They're too afraid to say, I'm not ready to listen to what you particularly have to say because you're further down the line than I probably need to be and you're scaring me. That's okay to say that to certain people. There are certain people that are intense. They're going to come at you and you're going to be like, hey, look, I'm not really ready for your type of help. I'm not there yet. You're freaking me out. It's okay. It's okay. You'll walk in your path. You'll get to that place eventually. There's no need to rush it. The important part is that you're aware that you are even on a path and that there are things you can work on. And there are people out there who are willing to help you. Not just the judgy people. Yeah, the people who really want to help you, they're much harder to find, but you will find them because you'll put yourself in a place where you're going to be right next to them regardless. Because you'll start hanging out with people who are kind of like you. You don't necessarily have to find somebody who's an exact clone of you or anything. You just need to find somebody who has the same sensibilities as you in a certain particular mindset and the way that they go about themselves. It doesn't mean you want someone exactly like you. Now, I do believe that there are people out there who are very, very similar. They're hard to find. There is no such thing as finding an exact clone of you, but there is a point where there are people out there who are very close. I've met them. There are people out there where it's eerily similar how close we are, and that's on both sides of the house. It could be a woman 20 years older than you. It's not about the physical aspect of it, the mindset alone. It's all of the things combined. Again, we're not talking about just one aspect, and I think that is an important thing to realize, is that you are not just your mind. You are also your heart. Regardless of what you believe in spiritually, you still have a soul, and no matter what physical shape you're in, you still have a body. All of those things encompass who you are, and those are just the foundations. We're not even talking about the complexities of all of the memories and all the failures and where you grew up, and did you come from an affluent background or were you poor? Those are all the things that are nuances that are added in there. And then you have some things that are shoved in there that you had no control over. But it's you. So yeah, finding someone that is similar to you is important. But I also think, again, balance. Finding someone who's the complete opposite of you and having a conversation with them is important as well. And I've done that. I've had plenty of conversations with people who are polar opposites of who I thought it was. So if there is somebody out there who is a polar opposite of you, there has to be someone out there who is essentially exactly like you. We talk about all the time, and when you're talking about the universe and multiverse, and one of the concepts people always say is there's someone else is out there, and maybe even right now in a separate dimension we can see another you doing the exact same thing, just in a slightly different way. So when you start thinking like that, that's where I say the mind can start getting complex, because you can't control that, can you? We can't see other dimensions. We can't see a person who's an exact clone of us. Maybe that person is living in Japan or this person is living in New Zealand. We don't know that. So you have to come back to who? Yourself. Doesn't matter if there's someone else out there exactly like you or the polar opposite. You have to focus on yourself. Your mindset is going to make you a better person. Because when you can get into your mind and you're aware of all those things, the more comfortable you get with your mind, it figures out and solves small problems along the way. In sequence with your heart and your mind and your body, you figure out the larger problems together. When you pinpoint some of the smaller stuff, if you just utilize your heart and you go with your intuition, it will figure out some problems. Your body will overcome obstacles. Your soul will get you through some hard times through spirituality, knowing yourself and being aware that you are a person. You're a living, breathing person. Together, all those things together, you're a powerful machine. But the two most powerful components in there is your mind and your heart, because without either one of them, you are not alive. You're not living. You're not thriving. Your mind is testing you every single day, far harder than anybody who's going to walk up and judge you. Your heart is testing you every single day, far harder than anybody's going to judge you. You have to understand that. You are judging yourself far harder than anyone else out there could ever do. It's up to you to make your decisions. Those people can say whatever they want. This is your life. You have to hold yourself accountable first. Then you can go out and deal with these people, and you'll find dealing with them is far easier when you have self-love, self-discipline, self-value, and self-worth. You have a purpose, and you're on the path to fulfill it. You have to know your mind and utilize your heart. If no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. the brave never fall.